Alright, I'm going to talk about morality a little bit, even though it seems like a pretty, to me, one of those topics where the answer to me is obvious. Morality is subjective. Some people argue that it's objective. And there's other philosophical terms that I'm not going to bother defining. You can distinguish between subjectivism and moral relativism and so on, and you'll know my position just by hearing me talk for a little bit, and I'll try to keep it short instead of just trying to find the term that defines me best. It's just obvious, I think, from basic neurobiology and every science that has touched or every science that has dealt with the brain in any way, that our moral intuitions, our moral experiences, emotional experiences are all directly related to the physical state of our brain. And it could be some kind of indirect, maybe third-party relationship, but we don't have any evidence of that, and it's kind of dumb to assume it. If you take drugs, you immediately we can see that the physical we can see that the physical molecule will affect your physical brain in a certain way, and it will alter your consciousness. And so we presume a direct relationship, and I think that's reasonable for a lot of reasons. And so to that extent, our moral experience is obviously subjective. I mean, but is there some sort of objective moral law that we're sensing or tapping into, or to which our emotional experiences and actions can be compared? Well, I haven't seen it. Good luck finding it. Philosophers have philosophized about it. I guess the best, you're never going to look for it and find it. So the best thing you can do is to try to derive its existence, or at least maybe try to derive that it's rational to believe it. Either way is good, right? You can either derive that there's objective moral laws, or you can show that it's rational to believe that there is. Either way, I'm going to believe it. If you can show either of those two things. I think it's very unlikely. Here's one thought experiment that just, I think, blows a ton of the arguments out of the water, because all the arguments, they inevitably presume that our current moral intuitions, love is good, killing is bad, incest is disgusting, and so on, they all presume that those are our human moral intuitions are somehow in line with the objective ones. Okay? How do they know this? And now that we have evolutionary theory and all the well-accepted facts, I think, I could have fucked something up, I guess, talking, but evolutionary theory combined with modern cognitive and neuroscience show that we evolve these moral intuitions. I mean, you read Moral Minds. That's a good book. I'll link it. You can read, Steven Pinker talks about this extensively. Evolutionary psychology is somewhat controversial, but some things I think they have right. The existence of human universals when it comes to these things, and evolution being able to explain the existence of human universals, like everyone thinks rape is bad, for example, in all cultures. I don't know, actually, in all cultures. That might not even be universal, but definitely rape occurs in all cultures. I don't know if people generally think it's bad when you rape, someone close to you or something. But there are human universals as far as there actually haven't been that many good studies. I think Moral Minds, the book, actually calls for more evidence, but it's clear that we do have moral intuitions. I mean, all you need is introspection to show that. And so these moral intuitions, obviously, since they're physically dependent on the brain, on the physical brain. That is, they're dependent directly on the physical brain, and the physical brain evolved, then we basically evolved our moral intuitions. And so you can imagine a scenario where our ape-like ancestors may have been under different circumstances, where there was no food, no plants, no animals, and they had to cannibalize, kill their own family and eat them, kill friends and more distant relatives and eat them, maybe, probably more likely. And so they would probably, to help this, the psychopaths among them would do the best, and they would survive. And if it was a tight enough evolutionary bottleneck, they develop into a species of basically what we would call psychopaths. But to them, if they also had capacities for abstract reasoning, they would derive objective moral laws where it was a good thing to kill and eat people. I mean, like you can imagine. I mean, I'm not saying they would. I'm saying it's possible. It's a possible scenario. This thought experiment shows that the idea of objective morality, it demonstrates my earlier point that there's just no reason to think our moral intuitions are tapping into anything absolute. We could somehow be on the, even if there were objective moral laws, there's no telling if we're on the bad side or the good side of the coin. So all moral philosophy based on that becomes pointless. You just made a blind assumption that our moral intuitions are somehow in line with not necessarily God's rules, but these objective rules that you can never see or verify the existence of. Obviously, that's the main problem, is that you can't verify their existence. I mean, like I said, though, if you could derive them through reasoning, which I don't think anyone has. I've looked at their arguments. I'd like to hear counter-argument from instead of me arguing with myself. I'd like to get somebody to present the objective case. But you'll notice that you're going to have to presume that your moral intuitions are somehow on the right track. But like I just said, you can imagine how we could have evolved completely different moral intuitions, because our moral intuitions, after all, have been cultivated through the process of natural selection. These are intuitions that prove to be most useful in cooperating and progressing with other humans. I mean, that's just evolutionary theory, man. We didn't get these kind of complex moral intuitions by just random drift, man. And even if we did, your case would still be hurting, because again, drift can just go any which way. So even if it were drift, which is highly unlikely, thinking it's drift is just crazy, really, in my mind. But yeah, so you can. I mean, my job's done. That's it. Let's see it. How are you gonna? I've just never been able to think of a way to get around these problems. Obviously, there's a philosophical problem of even trying to show that it's trying to prove it or whatever. And even if you could prove it, that it was rational to believe in objective moral laws, which I highly doubt. And I've encountered a lot of arguments, and it's just a pile of crap. So I mean, to me, like, arguments for objective morality, free will, and theism are all in this boat of just nonsense. Everything else I consider much more objectively, but I do just think that these arguments are ridiculous, personally. And so you have to make that philosophical demonstration, and also you need to overcome I think, insurmountable. So you need to overcome an insurmountable obstacle. How does that sound? And that obstacle is demonstrating how that our moral intuitions happen to be in line with these objective moral laws. Good luck. Good luck.